Um, hey, morning guys. Yeah, sorry about the voice, the everything, how I look, whatever. Yeah. We're here for the deadline, so let's see. Just gonna share the old stream link and we can get going as well. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Um, just gonna share this deadline stream. All right, let's just get into everything. Kim, thank you so much. AUS, thank you for being around. Really appreciate the support. Robert as well. Uh, yeah, I will take care of myself. Hope you're doing well, Otto, as well. I look fresh, someone says. That's funny. Um, let's see. Any sort of FPL comments that we can get through? How does my voice sound? Let me know if it sounds great. Okay. So, couple Anonis, thank you so much. Start dibbling Greaves or Ina. Honestly, Dibbling Greaves. I mean, I'd probably just play. I mean, I'd probably play Dibbling, but I'm just trying to think if Dibbling could get benched. I don't see Dibbling getting benched. He's been playing well recently. Um, it's just whether there's a case for a clean sheet between any of the teams. No, I honestly I think I would just go Dibbling in that case. Hey William, Bowen captaincy. I don't mind it, right? It's one of the better fixtures this week, and you can guarantee his minutes. So I think that's a good thing. So I wouldn't mind a Bowen captaincy whatsoever if you want to do that Bowen captaincy. Yeah, nothing else to say. I think there's a couple interesting captaincies this game week, right? Watkins, if you have Watkins, but I wouldn't necessarily spend a transfer to get towards the direction of Watkins because I think that's a bit that's a bit too much, basically, in my thoughts. In my team, I'm going to captain Palmer and Vice Saka, and I don't think there's too much controversy about that. Sorry, I think my light just went out. Just got fixed. But yeah, those are kind of where my thoughts are. If you own Holland, obviously that's a super easy captaincy to do. Like I would very comfortably go with the Holland captaincy this game week. Um, Bowen is definitely up there, but I still ultimately prefer a Saka still over a Bowen, even though Fulham are so good. And that's just a quality difference in my opinion between some of the players. But yeah, uh, you can definitely. I mean, because you might know that you're not competing versus a Salah captaincy. I guess that could give you the incentive to want to go for Bowen. I think that's totally fine too. Um, Dimitri, thank you so much for the super chat. You need to play Wood, Bruno, Johnson. I'd definitely play Bruno. Would you transfer out anyone for 0.4 or roll to fun? I mean, I don't really know what the rest of your team is, right? You say you've no West Ham, no Wolves, no Newcastle, Aston Villa assets. It's a bit of a tricky time because I think, I don't really mind recommending something like Johnson to Matoma. That could always work out because that actually saves you a bit of money as well, and I think that's quite a strong move. I don't even mind Johnson to Semenyo if you suddenly want to save enough money to go from Wood to another player who might be a little bit better later down the line. But I don't think you can necessarily afford, the likes of Jackson Isak anyways by going for a Semenyo. So I think in your case, maybe going out of Johnson could work out. I mean, he's played quite a few minutes recently, so maybe he could be due for a benching. And ultimately, the Spurs team strength is poor. I think Bruno's quite an easy keep for this week, but you might want to also consider rolling because you might not want to have Bruno versus Man City next week. So it really comes down to what you think. I think it's okay to keep Wood if you don't have the ability to upgrade like towards the Knicks tier. Not having a Wolves player, I think, is fine. You're gonna maybe struggle this week in the Knicks, but I think you should be fine for the most part. As far as Johnson, once again, I think he's one for consideration where you can look at Spurs now and just sort of ask the question, are his minutes going to be great? Do you want to transfer out anyways? And if you do, then I think Matoma makes a lot of sense. Isak captain, I think, is not too bad either. I just think because it's an away fixture, that does nerf the quality of the game quite a fair bit. The chances of the Villa match being called off, I think, is quite high, if I'm being honest. I mean, I'm sitting here in London, right? And I was pretty confident that the wind was so strong here that I can't imagine if the wind is stronger elsewhere why the games would continue. Yeah. Is Bowen a differential captain? I think he's decent. Start Hall or leave Davis. I'd probably go leave Davis, honestly. Also, thank you for the super chat. Start Colwell or Ryan Aït-Nouri. I'd still go Ryan Aït-Nouri. Because unfortunately, this isn't a great Colwell game, so I don't really mind the playing of Ryan Aït-Nouri. Captain Saka or Jax over Palmer. You can do that, but I personally am just going to go with Palmer. Would you sell Rodgers to Semenyo? Absolutely not. Are you talking about if the Aston Villa game is cancelled? Sorry, I'm trying to look at news. All right, got my vitamin C drink over here. I don't think we have news today, if I'm being honest. Jackson changed to Isak. I don't think it's worth a transfer personally. I mean, Jackson got rested. It's not a great game, but also with the Tottenham injuries, I don't think it's actually that bad of a game, so I would keep him. Mbuma out next game week. I'm actually planning to probably go Mbuma out in game week 18 now, the way that I look at it. Not ideal, but I think because I'm forcing transfers in certain directions, I'll probably do that. I probably wouldn't do Salah out to Saka in as well, guys. So yeah. Havertz to Isak, I actually think that that's okay as a move. Yeah, I think that's a pretty considerable upgrade. I just think that Jackson is slightly better than Havertz anyways. So yeah, when I'm saying you can keep Jackson, but you can still Havertz, that's sort of that's sort of the distinguishing factor in my head. I don't think it's a huge upgrade though. Once again, like I think Havertz to Isak is a bit unnecessary, if I'm honest. But if you want to do it, go for it. I just felt like I wasn't super confident in Dominic Solanke, so I've made my move in that direction, but happy to I've made that move basically. A little scared of United game cancellation. Bruno to Bowen, interesting for me. Yeah, I mean, look, if there's game cancellations on our mind, I think the easiest thing to do is not to make transfers. Let's Talk FPL has no power where he lives to stream. Well, I've got the power, my friends. I'm just mortally sick. Why Palmer captain? I think it's one of the better fixtures when you look at the amount of Tottenham injuries that's here. A lot of people have away fixtures, anyways. So when we're talking ceiling and all that kind of stuff, yeah. Leno or Hermansen, I'd probably actually play. Unironically, I'd play Hermansen. Victor, which Villa defender to target? Sorry, sub 4.5 million. How Konsa? I think if you want to go for a sub 4.5 million defender, I think I'd probably go for Konsa still. I think he's got slightly more goal threat than Pau. And you know what? They're both injury prone, so I don't think there's much to say. So yeah, I'd probably go with Konsa if I'm honest. And I think that's a very strong pick. Only thing I'd probably add to that is at the 4.5 tier, I still think Hall is interesting. Obviously, he doesn't have a good fixture this game, which is why I'm benching him. But yeah, hope that kind of sorts out your question. There's also the pick of Lewis Dunk, but I'm sure you're not very interested in the Lewis Dunk experience. I can't tell you, it's been extremely pleasant. So yeah. Would you swap Cunha or João Pedro for Watkins? Let me have a think about that. I would probably swap. Nah, I mean, no, because I think Cunha, I would still like to give him Ipswich at home, right? Sure, you get to move into Southampton at home for this game week, but João Pedro, I think, just generally has a much cleaner run of games. Like when I look at João Pedro now, right? When Watkins is going to have terrible fixtures, at least you're going to have Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford. Those are 3 great games. Cunha, you're at least going to have 2 more great games. And then when I look at Rodgers, for example, you're going to jump straight into Nottingham Forest away, City at home, Newcastle away, Brighton at home. Like that's 4 bad fixtures in a row. 4 bad fixtures in a row. So I don't really think that there's a need to go to Watkins. Now, if you think that suddenly no one's going to score points in the next 4 after this, and Watkins is like a supremely great pick and the captaincy is going to pay off, go for it. I personally don't want to captain Saka because I generally think Fulham is a much better defense than Tottenham, especially given the injuries that we have for Tottenham. Fran, what do you think of Havertz and Kulu to Evan Nilsson and Bowen? I don't mind that, to be honest. I think that's quite nice. I think getting rid of Kulusevski is interesting, and being able to move to someone who's got really good minutes around that price tier is very helpful, right? Because we do have a bit of a gap in FPL. Why do I still have Mbumo? I already used my transfer, and I don't think he's that bad because hopefully I'll get a jammy penalty. What about Isak captain? Yeah, I don't know. Super chat was missed. Sorry about that. Crunch 89. Apologies about that. First of all, take a -4 hit to bring Rodgers in for Mbumo. I don't think it's worth it. First of all, the Aston Villa game can be suspended. Second of all, we might be seeing Mbeumo the last 4 matches, and he might look like an absolutely awful player, right? But at the end of the day, he's still someone who has good value in home games and is on penalties. So even if he doesn't actually kick a single ball in open play towards the opposing goal's net, he still has that sort of intrinsic value there. And when I look at, for example, the markets, right? Um, yeah, sorry. So that's sort of my points on Mbeumo. But I was actually going to look at some of the projections for Mbeumo from Rob T. So the market yeah, so when you look at the market projections, right, for this game week, an extended list from Rob T in terms of goal scorers, you'll actually still find that Mbeumo is higher than Semenyo, for example, in terms of goal scoring odds. And that's Mbeumo versus Newcastle at home versus Semenyo at Ipswich away. So even though I'm like, I think one thing to think about in terms of just thinking critically about the game, yes, someone can have absolutely horrible stats in the last 4 or 5 games, but he's still at least producing some XA. So there's some sort of attacking value there within him. And he's still on penalties and he's still playing close to 90 minutes a game, right? Or 95. So I just think that the chances of you being able to move to Semenyo and actually getting a lot of upside from it, or Rogers and getting a lot of upside for a hit or for a free transfer for this game week isn't great because, for example, Rogers has some pretty poor fixtures after this. As far as why is everyone captaining Palmer, once again, I think Tottenham is in tatters, right? Goalkeeper downgrade, Dragusin left center back, arguably their best midfielder not playing. Like, there's a couple of things that I think make it good for Palmer, and I think a lot of people have neglected how good exactly Fulham are. The next super chat was from Conrad Lamb. Would the Jackson plus Mbuma to Matoma for a free? I think that's fine, right? So the reason why I'd say it's okay to sell Mbuma is, in this case, is because you're actually moving someone else and upgrading someone like Wood to Jackson, right? Or if you're moving Wood to Isak, like, I can understand downgrading Mbuma because you're actually getting the upside really from the Jackson move as opposed to getting the upside necessarily from the Mbuma to Matoma move. Now I'm sure Matoma can definitely outscore Mbuma up over the next 4 games. That's more than plausible with Matoma's fixtures, but you're at least giving yourself the chance to get an upgrade on both, as opposed to on one side where Mbuma has a home fixture, and yeah, you're going to enjoy that. Sorry, I was asked actually by a friend of mine to count how many points my defenders got over the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Yeah. Back to the questions though. Abdullah, hope you get well soon. Thank you so much. Bowen captain, rank 20k. I personally would still like to go with the Palmer captaincy, but if you want to go for Bowen and sort of maximize the actual fixture value of the game, I think that's totally fine. I mean, the reason why a lot of us still captain, the likes of Saka, Salah, Palmer on tougher games is because the quality gap is still there. But if you like really want to buy into, of course, that sort of fixture gap, then I can understand that too. Which players are you planning to target in the weeks ahead? To be honest, I'll just have to monitor couple things, right? I think Mbumo Cunha out is definitely viable over the next few game weeks. So we're probably looking at also ultimately going towards some of the budget mids in the game, and also potentially a downgrade from Cunha. So once again, looking at the 5.x type of forwards, I'll need to monitor Raul's minutes and see if he can sort of survive this fixture congestion, or whether Muniz is going to get a lot more minutes, and that I'm going to be sort of concerned over this period with him. So that's something to think about. In terms of defense, I clearly still actually want to have Trent. If I can have Trent on game week 18, I think that's ideally the case. Why Salah benched? He's not playing football today. Good differential in Semenyo price bracket. I mean, I think still think Enzo's decent. Now he wants me to calculate my defender points. 21, 23, 39, 42. That's 64. All right. No more doing silly stuff. Let's go back to stream chat. Odegaard or Son to Enzo Hernandez. I probably wouldn't do either transfer unless you're actually going to make an upgrade elsewhere. Like, I don't see the reason to just make one transfer. Why are you benching Salah? How does it work? He's not going to play football. That's how it works. Would you captain Bruno or Palmer? I'd go Palmer. Hi, I get well soon. Please bench 2 out of Porto, Hall, Aina, Aitnuri. I'd probably just bench Aina, I would say. You missed my super chat? No worries. Sorry, I'll actually read it now. I'm on sale. Thank you so much for the super chat. Sell Solanke for Jackson / Isak for -4. Or wait, I would say give Solanke the Southampton fixture because you're taking -4. If you were doing it for one free transfer, I wouldn't mind the move. If you were doing it for a hit, that's why I don't really like it. Yeah. Sell Salah or keep him. Don't have Saka from the top 4 players chasing 60 points in the mid league. The thing about excuse me, sorry guys. The thing about Salah though is I don't think Saka's a better captaincy. Fulham are a much better defense than Tottenham. I don't think it's even close. Anyways, back to the point. The main thing about Salah, right, is 2 game weeks down the line, you're going to have Leicester at home, and that's one of the best captaincies ever as well. So I just think that there's so much points in Salah's direction still to come in the next few game weeks that using a transfer to get out of him pretty much means you're blocking yourself from maybe buying him back. Because also, if you sell Salah, you're losing a lot of the money in the bank, right? So if I go to transfers and I go to list, I own Salah and I bought him at 12.7. He's now at 13.3, but I can only sell at 13. So suddenly, just by selling Salah this week, I'm going to net lose 0.3 in the bank. And that's not exactly great when it comes to long-term play, in my opinion, because it just kind of makes your team worse. So I think, yes, of course, from a risk perspective, it actually makes sense to go out of Salah. But I guess the question is, how are you going to deal with the Game Week 18 piece? Obviously, Saka actually has a decent Game Week 18 fixture himself. I'm not declining that at all. But then I guess it's also, yeah, what are your plans? Are you plans to go back? Or are you actually planning to just go Saka and take on Salah head on? Because what I can say about Salah is, in theory, you could Palmer captain against Salah the next 2 weeks, right? Brentford at home, Everton away, I think competes very well against what Salah has because Fulham are very good. Spurs, at least they're away, so that's not going to be like an amazing fixture. However, 18, I think, is the problem point. And if you're a Saka owner, I think that general run between 18 to 20 is just poor. So, yeah, questions to be asked there, and whether you want to do it. Is Welbeck starting? I can't say. I mean, he was in training, right? Akanji start or sell? I'd probably sell him. Ace says best enabler midfield to get right now. I don't really mind Enzo. Sorry, I didn't mean 1921 JL. Absolutely right. Well, actually, no, I do actually mean 18 to 20 because I think Saka has a better game on 21, right? Yeah, 21 is actually, I think, a decent game. Yeah, I'd say Nottingham Forest away is a much tougher game than Spurs at home right now for Saka versus Salah. The big difference is if you're only going to own one of these players, I definitely want Salah versus Leicester more so than Saka versus Ipswich. So that's what I mean. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. Charlie Key says buy Rogers to replace Dibbling on bench. I think that's okay. If it's a luxury free transfer for you and you've got one free transfer anyways that you get to roll for the next game week, I think that's totally fine. Kirkes or Hall, I mean, if you're buying for this game week, I would go Kirkes, right? Because Kirkes actually has a good fixture. And I think Hall, like Brentford away, I'm still expecting Brentford to score. Fran, meme is here, daddy. Fair play. Johnson to Semenyo, Fran. I think, once again, if you're making moves like Johnson to Semenyo or you're downgrading Mbumo for this game week, I would only really do it if you're actually going to upgrade another position within your team. Like if you're just doing it for one single free transfer, like let's say doing Mbumo to Rogers or Mbumo to Semenyo, I don't really think that's worth it personally. So yeah, is Iwobi a good transfer for Mbumo for long term? I mean, if you can bench Iwobi for the next 2 game weeks, I don't think that's fine. I mean, I don't mind that. Sorry. You think Lewis is playing again? I think so, just because I don't think Akanji is going to feature, right? And if Ake is injured, like long term as well, then I think it's quite easily the case that we can just go with Rico. And I still prefer if Rico starts over Dunk. Best 4.5 defender, Colwell, Kirkus, Hall, Maz. I think long term for me, I would still easily say Colwell. Start Porro or Hall, I'd probably go Hall, to be honest. Frank's fan for doing the stream anyways. Everybody give a like. Thank you. Fran, start one. Dunk, Nuri, or Lewis? I'd probably just start Lewis. I mean, I have the same situation without Ran, right? There is no one more committed than Fran. Thank you, meme. Who are you planning to swap in for Mbumo in Game Week 18? Wait for it. Eze. Thank you, Clack. Brian, drink some soup. I'll be drinking some hot stuff later. Who would you play? Drunk, Hall, or Colwell? Don't I find Colwell boring? Yeah, but clean sheets aren't boring, are they? Or points aren't boring. Put it this way, right? Like, I mean, people tell me Ryan Knight-Nuri is apparently fun to own, but it's like, is he? Is he? Is he fun to own? I don't know. These were the good fixtures, right? And that Southampton clean sheet, I will tell you right now that that was not deserved, because there was a really strange VAR call that game to disallow the goal for Southampton, in my personal opinion. But yeah, I can't imagine that this is fun. The nice thing with Colwell is that I think that at the start of the season, I was very concerned with how good Chelsea were, but you also have to give credit to the fact that a lot of their fixtures over this run were worse. And now, if you own Colwell, you're looking at Brentford, Everton, Ipswich, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Wolves. Like, that is an exquisite run where I'm expecting a lot of points in the future, right? So when you're jumping into like considering between like Ryan Knight-Nuri, some of the other players in the game, like even for me, the only reason why I own Hall over Colwell is because I needed that 0.1 million between Colwell versus Hall to be able to get to Isak today, or to be able to even go from Guardiola to Trent. Now, I clearly didn't go Guardiola to Trent because of the potential suspension of the game, but you know, that all those kind of little things matter in FPL. So yeah, for me, like if I was projecting ahead for Colwell, and Chelsea have actually looked like a really competent defense over the last few weeks, I would definitely just play. I mean, I would say Colwell's been a fantastic pick to look at. If I had Bone, would I captain him? No, I wouldn't. I mean, I would just captain Palmer. Who are your favorite goalkeeper picks to replace Pickford's? It depends if you have Fabianski, but I honestly think Kepa's interesting if you own Fabianski, but then it's hard to say whether Fabianski keeps his spot on Game Week 18 when Kepa plays versus Chelsea. So I would still, like, Verbruggen is not ideal because honestly, it's like good fixtures, but that defense does look shocking. And contrary to the way Brentford play, they don't really get that many clean sheets, right? I mean, sorry, they don't get many saves. So it's like either they get the clean sheet or they're probably also conceding, and there's no sort of, like with Flecken at least, they conceded 3 goals, and I still got 3 points, which I think is actually quite decent. That kind of shows you the natural theoretical reason why we own Flecken, even though he's actually just a bag of whatever the you know, bad words and stuff like that I can come up with for my lovely goalkeeper, who does nothing for me most game weeks. But you know, I think Verbruggen in theory is one of the better picks if you want to target fixtures. So I'd still recommend him. Henderson's not bad either, just because he's 4.4. So from that perspective, he's actually like quite interesting. I guess Fraser Foster from Spurs is also like a really, really cheap keeper if you fancy like saving some money for whatever reason, and you actually think that you might want to just back Spurs. I don't know. You could do that, but I probably wouldn't. So yeah, for me, it's like Verbruggen or Henderson probably. Because I think Henderson actually plays for the most competent defense, but then I think Verbruggen has the fixtures. Do you reckon Højlund will play good minutes? Honestly, I can't call it. There's been so much rotation, and I don't think that Højlund's been preferred so much. He also played as a starter versus Arsenal, right? So hard to say. I'd say probably maybe not yet. I don't have the money for Isak. Do I buy Evan Nilsson or Wood instead? I don't think there's really a reason to necessarily sell Solanke. I don't think Solanke suddenly become an awful pick in the game, excuse me. But yeah, I think Evan Nilsson's one of the better picks, so he can definitely be someone that you can move into. But keep in mind, of course, Solanke's still going to have that Southampton fixture. Evan Nilsson has 2 good games coming up next, but he doesn't have Southampton away. And then actually, he still has some poor games, like for example, Man United away, right? Like Game Week 17. So like, I guess keep that in your mind, even though Solanke himself has a bad fixture. So I guess you can kind of see whether you want Evan Nilsson, because he's also got Fulham away, and then later down the line you've got actually a good Solanke fixture within things like Wolves at home, etc. So yeah, up to you really. If you plan to spend most of your money in the midfield and you really want to just get rid of Solanke because of it, you can do it on a different game week. Don't spam the chat, please, because I'm just not going to respond to the message. I think Lewis is playing. Yeah, I'm pretty confident in that. Really love your content. Really feels differential and refreshing. Thank you so much. Start 2, Gabriel, Dallo, Iwobi. I would just play... I'd play Gabriel and Dallo, personally. It is Iwobi versus Arsenal at the end of the day. And, you know, Iwobi will probably auto-sub for Gabriel. Would you go Porro to Timber for a -4? I wouldn't mind it, actually. I know I don't really tend to recommend -4s for defenders, but I think if you're pretty sick of Porro, you think he's a pretty poor pick. I do think that owning hopefully a fit Timber over this run could actually get you the net benefit over literally the next 4 game weeks. I think you can do that because the next 4 fixtures for Spurs are actually pretty poor from a defensive point of view, barring the 16 fixtures. So yeah, I don't mind that. Thank you so much for the super chat, RSD. I'm sorry, have I missed any super chats? Oh, Humza, I actually missed a super chat from you, and I also got an M knock as well. So going back to the super chats, M, thank you. Got Holland. I think you should captain Holland personally. If you have Holland, I think I would absolutely slam that captaincy down because I think you've got a competing captaincy option versus Palmer. When you look at even the market odds, I think Holland is obviously clear for a good reason, right? Once you contextualize that a midfielder and forward score different amount of points, I think you'll probably say Palmer's just about the better captain, and the risk perspective would probably make me want to go Holland over Palmer. So I would definitely do that. Humza, your super chat, thank you so much, and thank you so much, guys. And sorry for missing the super chats on time. But Humza saying downgrade Mbumo plus in Isak for Solanke for -4. I would roll, right? Mbumo's still at home at the end of the day. So is Solanke. I would probably give them these 2 fixtures. And if you can move them out next week, it makes a lot more sense, right? Because Mbumo has an away fixture and it's a tougher game. And as far as, let's say, Isak, he's got an even better fixture, even though Solanke has Southampton away. Like Leicester at home, I think is better than Southampton away. So the way I see it, why not make that move for when it's going to cost you nothing versus it's going to cost you a -4 and there's probably not that much upside on this game week. Philip, thank you so much for the super chat. Would you consider Bowen versus Wolves as a captain? I think it's a very strong captaincy pick. But I personally would still go with Palmer. I think part of the reason why I'm a little bit colder on Bowen compared to most is that sort of pen share element of the game as well. But this is a splendid game week for Bowen. So if you want to go for it from a differential point of view, I really don't mind it. I don't think you're losing that much versus a theoretical Palmer captaincy, just based on looking at the odds and things like that. By the way, I think I don't know if this is true, but apparently, have Aston Villa tweeted about the game? No, that's not true. Sorry, they've just talked about how they advise their fans to take a little bit more time in traveling the game. Never mind. I don't think Aston Villa will actually rotate as much as we think, though. If I want to put it that way, I still think Rodgers and Dean will start. So we'll see. Dr. Yazan says, hey bro, Colwell or Kirkes or Hall? Look, if you really need someone to play this game week, I might actually choose Kirkes. Because I think Hall and Colwell don't have great fixtures, and Emerson, I think that's just a form thing, to be honest. So yeah, long term, I think Colwell is the best pick if you can kind of stomach the idea that he doesn't have a great game this game week. So I'd go Colwell first. Can you show us a free hit team you would pick, please? Yeah, I absolutely can. Welbeck, JP, or bench Welbeck and play Strand. I would bench Welbeck and play Strand because I'm not sure if Welbeck's fit. And honestly, if JP's playing, you're taking away penalties from Welbeck, so that just makes Welbeck a little bit worse. Start Dean or sell for... I would just start Dean, honestly. Like, take a chance. Hopefully he plays for Southampton at home. I don't think there's too much else to say there. Right, we're doing a 3-hit team, right? So let's start with Aston Villa. That game can't be that honestly, that game can't be cancelled. It's too far out. Because if we got the news on Liverpool being cancelled 2 hours ago, we should really get the news. We should have already got the news for the Aston Villa cancellation. So I think that Aston Villa game has to go through. Sorry guys, my brain just isn't working like super well. But yeah, let's just work through a free hit team. I mean, I think Man City actually, I think you've got to put Haaland in the free hit. Sorry, let's just restore João Pedro because I actually think he's a good part of the free hit. I think Bowen's a good part of the free hit too. But we need some cheap budget players. I mean, I'd probably go Haaland. I'd probably go Watkins. Probably go João Pedro as well, to be honest. I think I'd go Saka, Palmer still. I just don't know if you can. Well, actually, once you've been off Salah, you can afford everything, right? I think Bowen's nice. Unironically, we're going for Bruno. I think Rodgers is decent, but then do we play? Who do we bench? Oh, God. Okay. I don't know if it's like good to kind of punt that Rodgers starts. Maybe he won't. Maybe you don't go for Gabriel anyways. Maybe we just go for, I guess. I'd probably go Timber. Would I drop Guardiola? Maybe a Brighton defender. I guess you could go Estupinian. Maybe Konsa. I don't know if Dean's going to start, so I'd say maybe Konsa. So that's our 3 Southampton players at least. Maybe we just go Verbruggen. You probably want to go Raya. So we need to just sell one of the big sort of big hitters within this team. Because we just have no budget. I might take Saka out of the free hit team. Because you're not going to captain him anyways, in my opinion. Right? We just go for what? Like dribbling here, security? Yeah, then you can afford everything you want. So what's our back line? I would say something like this, right? Like, we would play... Okay. Yeah, like we would... I think Konsa auto sub, right? Just put Greaves at the back here. Play Raya. Would you agree? I think you play Raya. Timber. Esteban Guardiola. Like, it depends on whether you like risk as a player personally. Like, I would go for a team like this, and I think that's like super well rounded. But that's also punting that Rodgers is definitely starting, which I think he will, but I don't know if you want to take that sort of risk. You could obviously like downgrade Guardiola a bit, I suppose, or you can go for another Arsenal defender. Like but I think Guardiola for me, I'd prefer to Saliba this week. I don't know what else to say, really. I guess there's always like Matty Cash who could be interesting. So there's that. Kearney, thank you so much for being a member for 3 months. But I'd probably free hit. I'd say I'd start these 3 players to the left. Konsa first defense, auto sub. Raya, my goalkeeper. You might need an auto sub for Raya, but I don't think it's necessary. You could just get the Arsenal backup. In the midfield, I think this is pretty strong for the most part. I'd still captain Palmer, but actually I'd captain Haaland. Sorry, I'd captain Haaland. Actually, you're vicing Palmer, so I guess maybe you could, if you care least about risk, you'd play Saka over Palmer, maybe. Because the way I see it, right, if you're going to captain Haaland on a free hit, you're going to go against the Palmer ownership anyway, so you're kind of begging for Palmer to not do very good. So maybe why not go against Palmer entirely, I suppose, is one of the things that I would think about. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's actually pretty plausible that you could do that. So yeah, this is probably the free hit team that I would make myself. mate, and as I said, choose between Palmer and Saka, right? The more risky you want your team to be, you go from Palmer to Saka. If you want to cover a little bit of that effective ownership of Palmer, just go for Palmer. But I would captain Haaland, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, Fabianski can just be our bench keeper, I guess, right? Nothing's going to happen to that guy. So yeah, I think that's how I would do it. Need to make sure my team is still in the same shape. Hopefully it is, I think. All right. Start excuse me. Start Verbruggen or Flecken. I would go Verbruggen easily. I mean, I just think it's a much better opponent. And honestly, they're both similar qualities of defense. Sorry. Palmer versus Bruno captain. I would go Palmer. But yeah, if I was free hitting, I would do that team for sure, and I'd probably go for a little bit of risk. Given that I have the Haaland piece, I just think that no one is really close to Palmer captain for now, which is why I'm Palmer captaining. Doku or Mitoma, I'd go Mitoma. Captain, I'd go Palmer. I mean, Bruno vice captain, I think is decent. I probably wouldn't captain Bruno. Why Palmer over Saka? I just think Fulham are a much better defense. Mazraoui or Ahmad, I'd probably, in terms of playing and starting, I'd probably actually go Mazraoui, to be honest. Keep Johnson or sell. I mean, I think if you really want to sell, I think Mitoma is right there, or Semenyo as well, but I don't think there's a need to, unless you're going to make another transfer. What do you think about Nicholas Jackson as a captain over Palmer? I'd always pick Palmer over Jackson, right? Kind of like the same way I'd always pick Salah over Trent. Bowen captain is, I think Bowen captain is fine. Watkins captain, I think, is even better. Haaland captain, I think, is the best. When am I planning with KDB back in? Haaland, honestly, I don't have any plans. But I need to start rolling some free transfers soon. So hopefully I'll do it the next 2 game weeks, and we'll see what happens. Start Semenyo or Evan Nilsson. I'd go Evan Nilsson. Mbeumo and Salaki to Isak and Semenyo. I think that's fine if that's for free transfers. I think it's not so good. Why Salah bench? Because he's not playing football today. João Pedro captain. Fair enough. I guess I just don't have the confidence in João Pedro's minutes. You think Haaland over Palmer captain? I think if you own Haaland, I would definitely go with Haaland captain. Yeah, pretty confident in that, actually. Haaland captain could be massive. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're free hitting, then I would go Haaland captain. Is there any late news? Any last minute news? Oh, I need to sort out my draft teams. I need to sort out my draft teams right now, guys. Sort me out. Sort me out. Okay. So I just punt that Ferg. I mean, okay, I just have to play Ferguson anyways. All right, that's an awful team, but we move. Milenkovic, Colwell. Oh my god, my Liverpool players aren't playing. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. I can't even do anything about that, can I? Nope. All right, whatever. Those are the draft teams done. Back to FPL. Yeah. Is the website down? Guys, if the website is down, use your phone. If the website is down, use your phone. Someone said the website's down. Oh my god, the website's at... Nah, it's actually working. It's fine. It's fine. Sorry about that. I'm not trying to create a horror movie here. Spurs winning? I mean, Spurs can win as long as they let my players score some goals. I don't really mind. Why is Salah first sub? It doesn't make a difference. He's not going to play football. Isak captain, I think, is fine, but I personally would just prefer Palmer. Bruno captain, I think, is totally fine as well. Once again, Bruno and Bowen, I'd say I'd still vice them if I had them over Palmer, but yeah. I mean, how am I sick? I don't know. Congested nose, fever, everything, coughing. Yeah. Bowen captain, I think, is fine. I don't really think it's worth the transfer though. Like, I mean, if you own Bowen and you're going to captain them anyways, that's fine. Austin, I don't support a team in the Premier League. I mean, my family's from Madrid, so I'm a Real Madrid fan. Anish, Flecken, Gabriel, Kirkis, Dallo, Saka. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Palmer, Semenyo, Mitoma, Strand Larson, Pedro Jackson. Honestly, there's no thoughts. I think just enjoy the game week. Hopefully, if you have a good first bench option for Gabriel, that it works out if he doesn't play. But otherwise, I think the team looks very, very strong. And hopefully Gabriel does start. Amarildo says, would you take a -4? I have no bench cover and Greaves starting. Take McNeil out or who, or just roll. I mean, I think just play Greaves. Because taking McNeil out, there's not too many players in the game who are much better, unless you want to go for Rodgers. But it's not worth it for a -4 either. So, yeah, the way I see it, I would just play Greaves. Because if you go to Rodgers, right, one of the issues with Rodgers is he's going to have bad fixtures over the next 4. So it's like you're buying into that, and that's expensive. I guess Semenyo, I'm not sure if you can even afford. And Boom to Gordon, I think, is a decent move. But I once again think it is a bit of a sideways move, potentially, up until next week, right? So it's one of those moves where I would just rather make Mbeumo to Gordon next week. If you want to do Mbeumo to Bowen still, I think you can do it this week if you want. If Salah doesn't play, he gets 0 points. Yeah, but if Salah doesn't play, he gets 0 points. It means that he doesn't... If you don't play, then the next auto sub just comes on. That's just how the game works. You need to actually play minutes of football to be able to be subbed on. I'm not captaining Guardiola, but I'd love to. But I think the issue with Guardiola is he could play even more defensively if Ake is injured, right? Hey, Fran, start Fabianski or Flecken. Honestly, I'd probably start Fabianski. Watkins captain. I think Watkins captain is actually a very, very good one. Very, very good one. Why not Saka captain? I think Fulham are a much better defense than Spurs. That's pretty much it. Do I start Hudson-Odoi or Livramento? Probably Hudson-Odoi. Son, good FPL asset. Who better at cheaper price? I'm not sure if Son is still a good FPL asset with the minutes that he's sort of playing, if I'm honest. Luis Diaz offer Matoma. I think that's fine. Flecken or Fabianski? I'd probably go Fabianski. Dunk or Colwell? I'd play Dunk quite easily. Flecken saves 3 Isak Ben today. Why are you doing this to me? Ait, Nuri, or Lewis? I'd go Lewis easily. Ait, Nuri, Van Heck, or Lewis? I'd probably go Van Heck or Lewis. I'd probably go Lewis. Who would you rather have it at cheaper price for Son? I guess you can say Bowen or Gordon right now if you want to just go a little bit down. Bruno is not too bad though, to be fair. Palmer, Saka captain. I'm going Palmer personally. I just think once again Fulham much better defense than Tottenham, and that's it. All right, guys, you have to make your moves. If the website is down, go on the app right now. 20 seconds left to make your moves. Thoughts on Enzo? I think is a decent pick, but I would only make a move for him if you can make an upgrade elsewhere. You're giving Solanke and Son one more chance against Chelsea. Yeah, look, give them one more chance for Southampton is what I would say. You can maybe bend them off versus Liverpool if you want to. Ait Nuri, Kukurea, I'd go Ait Nuri. Start Colwell or VDB or Dibbling. I'd probably go Dibbling. Tomato or chicken soup captain, honestly. No clue. And that's the deadline, guys. Thank you so much for joining the stream. I really appreciate you guys being here. If you guys can like, subscribe, I'd really, really appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Yeah, sorry that, I sound awful. Probably the brain has been pretty slow today. But I hope you guys have a wonderful time. Hope you guys have a good game week. I'm just going to log off and I'll probably watch a bit of football in my bed or whatever. Yeah, take care, guys, and enjoy the time. Probably stay inside, be safe if you're in England or anywhere near the storm. YouTube ads made you miss the deadline? No shot. What? But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Really appreciate you guys for being here, and I'll see you guys another time. Take care.